there. I'm back from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I spent the weekend in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with my youngest child visiting Grumps, who is my dad, and had a wonderful time in Pittsburgh. I've got a lot to tell you about that trip, but one of the things that I talked about last week was the idea of leaving behind the project that you are working on while traveling, whether it's a road trip or a bigger trip like I took with plane flights involved. Just leave that sock behind. For me, it's socks. I'm working on the fall socks, which are autumn color. These are, this is the color Basquiat from Neighborhood Fiber Company. And this is sock 1, and sock 2 is on the theme that is we are doing at the Grocery Girls Sock Bash for October, and I knit a pair of socks every month. The theme this month is autumn colors, so this has the nice dark leaf purple and also some orange, and so we're knitting fall color socks. And these are coming along. I've got a week and a day to finish these before the end of the month, and I'll definitely get them done. But I didn't take these with me on my trip because knitting a pair of socks every month is an obsessive interest with me. If you know what, neurodivergent people are like, to get really obsessed about something, and I'm pretty obsessed with sock knitting. So I know I'm going to finish this. And so taking things that I wasn't sure I would finish, and devoting some time to something apart from that monthly sock project, knowing I'm going to get that monthly sock done anyway, led me to finish a couple of those other things. And I knit this. This is a washcloth that I knit for Grumps. And so Grumps has it. This is his coffee table. And this is a garter basket weave. There's a pattern called Free Washcloths. It's free on Ravelry. And so this was one of the 3, and it's a knit 3 purl 1 pattern on the wrong side, and then knit across the front for 2 repeats, and then switch. You knit 1 purl 1, and then knit 3 purl 1 going across for the alternate, so that there's a weave in there. And this is just some cotton yarn that I picked up at Guild in that free closet. And it's a green and white, off-white, 2-strand cotton. And so I just, free yarn, and just quickly knit up in a couple days a washcloth for Grumps, because he likes them. He likes the texture. Then we drive to get to the airport. We fly out of St. Louis. People think Illinois, they think Chicago immediately, but actually Springfield is much closer, about half the distance to Chicago. Chicago takes about 3.5 hours to drive from here. St. Louis is 90 minutes. So we always fly out of St. Louis. So drove to St. Louis, and that's a 90-minute drive. So there, I worked on these little baby hats that I was working on for St. John's Hospital in Springfield. This project was given to me by my Stitch and Go project at Laurel United Methodist Church. They asked for these. St. John's Hospital asked Stitch and Go if someone could make these. And what they are is little purchased cotton hats, and then I have crocheted 1 row of double crochet, I think size G hook, I'm pretty sure, and 2 circles. This is just some off black, and this is that, what is it? It's Lion Brand Heartland, so it's washable acrylic yarn. And I just sewed everything to the hats. So they are, the headbands are extremely loosely stitched on there. Just like 5 or 6 at 5 or 6 points, I tacked it on there so that when the hat stretches onto a head, it fits over their head, the babies. And what I found out about this today is that these hats are going to be part of a fundraising campaign for St. John's Hospital. They are doing a radiothon to raise money and for their nonprofit part of their hospital. And the babies are going to be listening to the radiothon. That's what these are for. So that's kind of fun. But I took this project in a bag down to the airport, and then I left it in the car, and my husband left it in the car. And then on the way back, I worked on it again. So that was 3 hours of time where I could get a lot of this done. I had all the crocheting done by the time I was ready to go. So this was just sewing. And then I finished them yesterday. So all of that got done, on that trip without actually taking it on the plane. And then while I was in Pittsburgh, in addition to doing that washcloth that I worked on, I'm working on hats because my guild is I'm going to do a program for them. We're all knitting our favorite hat. And for the most part, it's to donate to charity. So this is a hat for middle child. And it is, again, Line Brand Heartland, which is just a real sturdy standby acrylic. Middle child doesn't want to wear wool. So this is all stash. And it's the purple solid is Line Brand Heartland, and then the top part is Sirdar Jewelspun, which I have used in slip stitch shawls before because it's a nice long variegated. But look at those stripes! Isn't that nice? The gray stripes and the white stripes that come through on the hat, on the main part of the hat. I really like that, how that turned out. And then I got this pom-pom at a store in Pittsburgh, and that's the next thing I want to talk to you about. There's a really lovely yarn store in Pittsburgh called Moon and Yarn Craft Room, and it is on Lincoln Avenue in a neighborhood in Pittsburgh. Oh gosh, I'm not going to remember what it is. Anyway, I will link it below. I will link their website. They do online orders as well. Moon and Yarn Craft Room is just a lovely store. It's clean. It's naturally lit. They have a sofa with a granny square blanket across the back of it where you're very welcome to sit and look at yarn or knit or whatever. The woman working there on the Saturday I was there was young and very hip and also really knew the stock in the store. I was asking them about is there anything locally dyed here? And is there anything, what can you tell me about the stock yarns you have? And this person was just extremely knowledgeable about all of the stock that was there and why they carried it and so forth. And so generally speaking, when I go to a yarn store and when I visit a town, I do go to yarn stores, as I'm sure you do. I usually just buy one skein of sock yarn to show the store that I appreciate that they're in business and that they're there so that I can visit them. And there is a point in supporting the store and just getting a ball of sock yarn. At Moon and Yarn, and by the way, Moon is a township in the Pittsburgh area, Moon Township. So Moon and Yarn, I think, also harkens to that as well as, Moon in the Sky kind of thing. But I got 3. Look at this. I got 3. Here's my still for the YouTube. And I'll share these with you one at a time. This is the new Madeline Tosh color. It is called Schnitzel Faced. Got blues and browns and mustard. German pretzel kind of thing in the autumn sky, I think is what it's about. And this is Tosh, that way. Tosh Twist Light. Which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. So sturdy sock yarn. And then the second one I picked out was Ruby and Roses, a brand I've never heard of. This is their soft rose yarn. It is 85-15 superwash merino, 15% nylon 4-ply. 437 yards to 100 grams. Squishy, squishy. And this is in the colorway First Frost. And I'm going to open this one up so you can see the colors. It's really pretty. It's got a lot. It's like a dozen roses. It's just got the green and the rose, the dark rose colors and purples and some blue and some, bright green. I don't know if that's black or, let me see what that is. That looks like dark green. It's dark green. So yeah, I'm really excited to knit a pair of socks out of this, probably for me. I think this color is just lovely. And finally, the third sock skein that I bought is, I like the name of this one, Dye Mad Yarns, DYE, Mad Yarns, with a goose as their logo. And this is Chester sock in the colorway Honk. And it's blue and purple. Shocking. These are very Bluegal colors. Little bit of green, little touch of green in there, but blue and purple. And Chester is 75% merino, 25% nylon, 437 to 100 grams. So 437 yards to 100 grams. Same as the roses, the soft roses, ruby roses. So, and the twist light is, let's see what the twist light is. I told you it was 75-25. It is 118 grams, 474 yards. So, super fine. It's a little sturdier yarn. These are much more squishy. So it'll be easy. It'll be interesting to see how these knit up. And they will. They will. I'm not worried about that one bit. A couple other things to talk about in terms of productivity, which is an ugly word to talk about when you're a maker and a creative person. And that's something that I actually brought up. I went on, what was it? I went on one of the AIs. It wasn't ChatGPT. It was, which one I used? I used Claude. That's it, Claude. And I asked Claude about traditional productivity and how that doesn't work for makers. The idea of, output, which, when you're knitting a pair of socks a month, yes, you are focused on output. But there is such a creative impetus to do that because you're knitting a different pair every month, and having that guideline for me of the sock bash saying, okay, in September we're going to do cables, in October we're going to do fall colors, next month in November we're going to do DK weight yarn. So I won't be using these sock yarns. I'll be using a thicker yarn. And I think I'm not going to start those until after my hat class, which is on the 10th, because I think I'll just be knitting hats until then. And so DK weight socks, I'm really not worried about getting those done in 2 weeks. But we're working on this 2025, the year of UFOs. This is something, actually, I have to talk about this. I designed this using AI. I asked AI for a logo for 2025, the year of UFOs, Finisher Frog knitting projects, and that's what I asked for. And what AI came up with was this circle logo with a spaceship here and a sweater underneath, just a blank sweater. And those of you that have used AI for generating images, how limited AI is. It doesn't get fingers right. It doesn't get letters right. And it leaves a lot to be desired if you don't know Photoshop, if you don't know where to get resources to fix images and make them look better. Then if you're just going to use a flat out AI generated image with no finessing it, everyone will know. And sometimes for comedic purposes, that's fine. Ha ha ha. Here's an AI of a person with 10 fingers on one hand, or here's an AI image of an elephant that has 15 tusks and no nose, and it will generate things like that. But so what I did with this one is I used Photoshop and fixed the lettering because it didn't get any of the spelling right. I added a ball of yarn image here and here. I added the frog emoji and the party emoji here, and I put these little icons of other types of knitting inside the sweater. This clock was there, but this ball of yarn wasn't. So to balance it out, I don't know what was over here, something else, but I put that there. And so I really did quite a bit of work on this from the standpoint of, making it useful as an avatar and an icon for a logo for our Ravelry group. So I talked to Claude today about different ideas about productivity and creativity. And what Claude does when you type in a prompt of I want to talk about knitting and creativity and productivity, and it gives you a bunch of stuff, and it says, is there anything here you'd like me to expand upon? So then you can reduce it down. You can, here's one thing that is really what I want to talk about. And you can ask, can you expand on this? And it will. And so after a couple of times, and again, it's just like with the AI images, if you have the skills to look at what the AI, how the AI is responding, and be able to funnel down to what it is you really want to say, you can get some pretty good writing out of that. And then you have to clean it up. You have to clean it up based on putting your own voice in. You have to clean it up based on making it your own writing. And it's a first draft. It's just like with the image. AI is, I think, very helpful for a first draft of anything, just to get you started. But unless you have the skills to add on to that and say, oh, this is good, let me circle this and get AI to talk more about it, and then I'm going to take it and turn it into something more human and more me and so forth. So this outline that AI did was the traditional productivity metrics don't serve makers. And so I'll read this outline, but I'm going to talk about it too, because this is my podcast, not Claude's. But Claude starts out with industrial era measurements clash with artisan work. Factory metrics focus on identical outputs. Making is about unique personal creation. Each project has its own natural rhythm. Okay, I think everybody understands that. And then Claude gives me 4 common productivity myths that harm makers. Number 1, faster is better. Number 2, more is better. Number 3, consistent daily progress, under which Claude says rest and inspiration are part of making, and I'm going to get back to that in a moment. And finally, finish what you start immediately. Well, that's absolutely not the way a maker works on anything. You can do that. I mean, I knit that washcloth in 2 days, and yes, that's something that one can do, but there are other projects that take more time and take more rest. Need to put them away or I said once I brought out a ball of yarn that someone had given me. This isn't it, but I said, this needs to sit on my desk for a while to decide what it wants to be. That's an understanding of the creative process. And under consistent daily progress, the AI says rest and inspiration are part of the making. Just letting something sit for a while. That doesn't mean letting it sit in a bag in the back of your closet forgotten. And I know that's one of the reasons we're getting back to UFOs is to, for me, at least for me, is to start working more consciously on this stash that I have and producing what I want out of the yarn that I own. But yeah, I think sometimes you just got to let that yarn sit. Okay, and then Claude writes about the hidden costs of traditional metrics, this output thing, which is, I like using a piece of yarn as emphasis. This is pretty good. Creative burnout, losing joy in the craft, decreased quality, missed learning opportunities. I really like that one because if you're just trying to finish it, you may not be taking the time to learn what the yarn is teaching you or what the project is teaching you. You just speed right past that. And disconnection from the meditative benefits. I mean, that's really good. You don't want to do that. You want to connect to the right pace for that project. And knitting is supposed to be fun. Finally, in this outline, what makers need to measure: satisfaction with process, skill development, connection to community. Sometimes you'll be in a knitting group or a guild or wherever you're knitting with other people, and you might not get a lot of knitting done because you're busy talking about, my dad's sick, right? My dad's having health problems right now. He really is. I might be talking about that for half an hour rather than knitting and getting help from others who've been through something like that. And that is therapeutic, and that is just as therapeutic as knitting or finishing a project. Yeah, that socialization. So, yeah, that connection to community is really important, and you might need to not be knitting during knitting time with the other people, depending on how well you know them. It's important to take the time to be with others. And knitting is a really good excuse, and I really appreciate that. Personal growth through making. I talked about that last week. Having learned a new cast on was, at my age, was a little embarrassing, but also made me feel real good. I had grown. And then the sustainability of the practice, not burning yourself out. And I wanted to get back to that part about value lying in the process and that rest and inspiration are part of making. The power of puttering is so important. Being able to just hang out with your stash, go through all your sock yarn or pick out a bin and just kind of look at it for a while. Sometimes shopping your stash is just browsing your stash. And I have found that to be a really important part of the meditative process of knitting, that I might just need to look at this particular bin or this particular drawer. And it's so funny. Middle child picked out the yarn for this hat. And she was in my yarn room / office and said to me, wait, she knew I had a closet full of yarn, but next to it is a 4-drawer large dresser that is probably 4 feet tall. It has four large drawers. And she said, wait a minute, is this full of yarn too? And I said, yeah. And she said, you know what's in each one of these drawers, don't you? I said, yeah, the bottom drawer is acrylic. And she opened it up and she picked out, that's what happened. But the reason I know, and the reason it's sorted out, is because I open those drawers all the time. I'm looking at them and figuring out, I know when I'm called upon, right? When I'm called upon to make an acrylic hat, where I'm going to go to pull out from my palette. And again, nobody ever told Vincent van Gogh he had too much paint. I'm going to pull out from my stash of paint something to make art Oh, by the way, I got this pom-pom at Moon and Yarn too. Lovely store. Highly recommend if you're in the Pittsburgh area that you go visit Moon and Yarn. Yeah, but getting back to this, puttering, going through your stash and looking at it, playing with it, figuring out, oh, maybe these two go together. The same thing with going through Ravelry every once in a while. Particularly, one of the places I love to go for inspiration is the friends list and see what everybody else is making. So you get so much inspiration from that and seeing what the projects are. And, oh, look, she put purple yarn with a variegated for a hat, and she put a pom-pom on it. That's fun. That looks like something I should do. Let me go through my stash and see what I've got. I'll go to the acrylic drawer for middle child and find something. So I want to encourage everybody to do that. Spend some time putter. And it's hard to do that right now because right now is when you, but it's the perfect time also. Right now is when you're starting to think about Christmas gifts and holiday gifts and what is it you want to make for friends and family or for charity. And this is the right time to start puttering around your stash and saying, where's the hat yarn? Where's the mitten yarn? Where's the sock yarn? If that's something, if someone is knit worthy, that was something else that came up at Moon and Yarn was listening to youngest child brag to the woman running the store that day about the socks that I knit and how youngest child will come home and just grab the socks. Youngest child said, yeah, I have about 12 pairs. I have about 12. I just grab them when I come home. Whatever mom's made, I grab. And the attendant at the yarn store at Moon and Yarn said, you must be knit worthy. And I thought, yeah. Youngest child is definitely knit worthy. And so is middle child. All my children are knit worthy. So this hat is going in the stocking when we put up the stocking. And we'll be working more on getting ready for this in different ways. One of the ways to get ready for this is to putter through your UFOs. It's not time to pull them out and try to finish them. It's just time to visit with them for a little bit and see, oh, what is this? Do I have enough yarn? Do I have enough do I have the right kind of needles? Is it too tight? Is it worth doing? Do I like it? You know, you can just start making little lists of what we're going to knit next year. No pressure. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.